Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to another edition of Crimes of the Week International. Authorities in the Australian state of Queensland are applauding the bravery of a grandfather this week after he not only protected his family during the middle of a terrifying home invasion, but also managed to perform a citizen's arrest on one of the suspects. The whole thing began at around 4 a.m. on October 13th, when Winnie Valli, his wife Angela, and their 7 children and 2 grandchildren were asleep inside their home in the city of Cairns. Suddenly, they were awoken by loud thumping that seemed to be coming from inside their bedroom. The couple had just gotten up to investigate when they felt someone run past them. That's when they realized that they were in a very dangerous situation. It turned out that the family had been targeted by a group of teenage robbers who had broken into their house a little while earlier. 2 of the suspects were in a getaway car on the driveway, while 2 others had made their way inside and were in the middle of stealing cash and valuables. When the thieves realized they'd been discovered, they attempted to run for it. However, one of them wasn't fast enough. That's when Winnie jumped into action. In his own words, he told reporters, quote, "The first offenders run out, and the second ones attempted to get away. I managed to get a good spear tackle in there and pin him down." As Winnie worked to restrain the second suspect, things took an unsettling turn when the first robber came back inside. Armed with a knife, he started moving towards Angela. Luckily, Winnie was able to shout to her and she managed to get to the safety of a locked bedroom in time. At this point, 3 of the suspects fled, leaving the one that Winnie had pinned to the ground behind. That suspect, identified only as a 15-year-old boy, was still being restrained when police arrived a short time later. He was taken into custody and is now facing several charges. Though Winnie and his family say that they are thankful that nothing more serious happened, the situation has understandably left them shaken, especially since this is apparently the second time that something like this has happened in just 2 years. On top of this, the thieves still managed to make off with some of their jewelry and their wallets. At the time of this recording, police say that they are searching for the remaining 3 suspects and are currently investigating whether this is the same group of teens recently caught on video surveillance trying to break into other homes in the local area. The situation is still developing. Authorities in the Brazilian city of São Paulo say that a woman narrowly avoided a nightmarish fate this week after her rideshare driver attempted to sexually assault her and she managed to escape by jumping from the moving vehicle. The situation began sometime in the early morning hours of October 14th when the woman in question, who has not been identified by name, was with her friend on their way home from a night out. The pair had been in the municipality of Bragança Paulista and had decided to split a ride home together back to their respective residences in São Paulo. The woman's friend was the first to be dropped off, and until that point there didn't really seem to be any issues. However, that all changed the moment the friend left the vehicle. Almost immediately, the female victim said that the male driver had asked her to move into the front seat of his car. He apparently told her that he wanted to see her face. Though the woman declined to move, the man began making inappropriate comments and unwanted sexual advances. Not sure what else to do, the woman started texting her friend and also pulled out her phone and began recording. She captured audio of the man asking her what type of men she liked and warning her that she shouldn't go down a bad path. Not long after, the woman realized that the driver was going off course and had pulled onto a secluded and wooded section of road. At this point, she realized she needed to get away and had to act fast. That's when she jumped from the moving car. Though the woman fell down a ravine and suffered several minor injuries, she was able to run to a nearby housing complex. There, she alerted residents who came to her aid. By the time police were called, the suspect had fled, but because he was signed up through the rideshare app Taxi 99, they say they are confident they will be able to track him down. The company that owns the app has also stated that the man has been removed from the platform. So far, the man's name has not been released, and no arrests have been made, though. When news of the story broke, a local city councilwoman announced that she had reached out to prosecutors asking for an investigation into ride-sharing apps operating in São Paulo in order to ensure that proper policies and safety standards were being put in place. Disturbingly, this week's incident comes less than a month after a 17-year-old girl experienced something very similar. However, sadly in that case, she wasn't able to escape and was sexually assaulted. The alleged perpetrator in that case has since been arrested. Representatives from England's Newcastle Crown Court say that a 53-year-old doctor pleaded guilty to attempted murder last week after he carried out a wild plot earlier this year which was intended to take the life of his elderly mother's live-in boyfriend. The whole thing started in late January of 2024 when the victim, 72-year-old Patrick O'Hara, went to a hospital complaining of an injury to his arm. The elderly man said that he'd been given what he believed was a COVID booster shot several days earlier, and that since then he had been experiencing a large amount of pain and discomfort. When doctors checked out Patrick's injury, they were incredibly disturbed by what they found. It turned out that what he had been given was no vaccine. Instead, he had been injected with a toxic chemical used in pesticides, one that had caused him to contract a rare flesh-eating disease. Luckily, doctors were able to figure this out in time, and Patrick's life was saved. Even so, he had to spend weeks in the intensive care unit and ended up losing part of his arm. After getting involved in the case, police pieced together what had happened. The person who had injected Patrick was the son of his longtime girlfriend, Jenny Lung. The man's name was Thomas Kwan, a 53-year-old Hong Kong-born doctor who lived in the city of Stockton-on-Tees. According to reports, Kwan was jealous of Patrick's relationship with his mother and also feared that he would get in the way of his inheritance. Specifically, he was angered by changes his mother had made to her will, which stated that Patrick could continue living in her home following her death if she passed away before he did. During their investigation, police discovered that Kwan had plotted for months to kill Patrick and had researched and explored a number of different potential poisons. A subsequent search of his property revealed a number of chemicals, including arsenic, mercury, and castor beans, the latter of which can be used to make the highly toxic compound ricin. Instructions for making ricin were also found on Kwan's computer. It appears that this may have been his original plan before he switched to the pesticide chemical believed to have been used in the crime. Prior to showing up at his mother's home on January 22, 2024, Kwan reportedly called Patrick posing as an official from the country's National Health Service. Under the guise of a home care visit, Kwan set up an appointment with him and even forged NHS documentation. The plan got even wilder, though. To disguise himself during the crime, Kwan put on a ridiculous-looking cheap wig and fake facial hair underneath the mask he was wearing. He told Patrick that he was a nurse named Raj Patel and apparently tried to speak with a thick South Asian accent. He also equipped his car with false license plates. According to local media, Kwan had been engaging in unsettling behavior well before the attempted murder. In November of 2022, police were called to his mother's home after he burst inside. And after that, he had installed spyware on her computer so that he could secretly monitor her finances. After being arrested and charged, Kwan initially pleaded not guilty to attempted murder, though he changed his plea after hearing the prosecution's case against him during the beginning of court proceedings last week. He ended up pleading guilty and is expected to receive a hefty sentence in the coming days. Authorities in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh say that they are investigating a crime that could have been pulled from the pages of a bizarre Hollywood thriller script after a local woman was allegedly murdered by a hitman that she had tried to hire. According to reports, the whole thing started a couple of months ago when the woman in question, 42-year-old Alka Devi, was at her wit's end with her 17-year-old daughter. Apparently, the girl had previously been kidnapped, after which her concerned parents had sent her to live with her maternal grandmother. They hoped that this would keep her safe, but instead they were alarmed all over again when they recently learned that she had gotten involved with a much older man, 38-year-old Subhash Singh. It wasn't just the age gap that unsettled them. Singh had previously served 10 years in prison for serious crimes. Alka had tried everything she could think of to get her daughter to leave Singh. However, this had been unsuccessful. That's when she decided to take drastic action. In September, she reached out to a person who she was told was a hitman in the area where her daughter was living. After speaking with the man, she asked him to kill Singh. Just a couple of weeks later, on October 5th, Alka left her home in Etah district to go and attend a court hearing. She was only supposed to be gone a few hours. However, when she didn't return, her husband, Ramakant, became worried, especially when he wasn't able to reach her on her phone. For roughly the next 24 hours, Ramakant searched for his wife until he got a horrifying call from police. Alka's body had been found in the middle of a local farm field. She had been strangled to death. After launching an investigation, police put together the twisted pieces of what had happened. They now allege that unbeknownst to Alka, the hitman she was in contact with was actually the man she had been trying to kill, Subhash Singh. When Singh realized who Alka was, he reportedly told her daughter what was going on. Rather than warning Alka, the teen allegedly asked Singh to marry her and then began plotting with him to kill her mother. They even went as far as to stage a fake killing to make it seem like Singh had done what Alka wanted. This was apparently done to try and get 50,000 rupees from Alka for the contract killing. However, when she refused to pay, they allegedly just decided to go ahead with the murder instead. Singh and Alka's teen daughter have now been arrested in connection with the crime and currently remain in custody. Authorities in the Mexican state of Guerrero are asking the federal government for help this week, following the high-profile killing of a local mayor just days after he took office. According to reports, 43-year-old Alejandro Arcos Catalan began his term as mayor of the city of Chilpancingo on September 30th. His first priority was coordinating and supervising disaster relief efforts to deal with the aftermath of Hurricane John. The hurricane hit last month and it caused severe flooding in the area. Pictures on social media showed Arcos hard at work meeting with residents and workers. However, little did everyone know they would soon be dealing with another tragedy. On October 6th, just 6 days after Arcos took office, he was brutally murdered. His remains were discovered with a white pickup truck which had been left abandoned in the middle of the city. Horrifying photos, which were circulated online, appeared to show the 43-year-old mayor's severed head sitting on top of the vehicle, while his body can be seen partially covered by a blanket in the passenger seat. While few updates have been provided about the case so far, it's widely believed that Arcos was targeted by members of local drug cartels. Guerrero is one of the most notorious states in the country for cartel violence, and Chilpancingo specifically has been home to a bloody turf war between two rival groups for years now. Disturbingly, Arcos isn't even the only high-ranking official to be a victim of such violence. Just 3 days before his death, the city government's new secretary, Francisco Tapia, was also killed. And on the evening before the mayor's inauguration, a former Special Forces police commander who was slated to become the mayor's security chief was fatally shot. The brutality of Arcos' murder in particular, though, has generated widespread anger across the country. In a statement, Mexican Senator Alejandro Moreno referred to Arcos and the slain secretary as, quote, young and honest officials who sought progress for their community, calling for the federal government to step in and bring order back to the state as a whole. For her part, Mexico's first female president, Claudia Sheinbaum, who only just recently took power herself, claimed that action was being taken, stating, quote, all the necessary investigations are taking place. At the time of this recording, it appears no arrests have been made, and the situation is still ongoing. The owner of an office building in Thailand is urging police to take immediate action this week after he says he was the victim of 2 separate burglaries at his office, crimes that were allegedly carried out by a perpetrator with quite the bizarre MO. According to local media sources, the whole thing began at around 9 a.m. on October 3rd, when a member of the building's cleaning staff arrived at the office in Mueang Rayong district to find that the place had been ransacked. Office supplies were scattered across the floor, and a number of items belonging to the business's owner, Paisit Jam Anukunat, were missing. Unfortunately, during that first burglary, the culprit had managed to disable the building's security system, so there wasn't much to go on. However, all of that changed roughly 2 weeks later, when another suspiciously similar crime took place. Only this time, the perpetrator was caught on surveillance video. When Paisit reviewed the footage, he was both baffled and disturbed by what he saw. The video showed that after midnight on October 14th, an unknown man had broken into the 3rd floor of the office via a nearby abandoned building. The man appeared extremely relaxed, even stopping momentarily to enjoy a soda and a coffee on one of the office's sofas. Just like last time, he proceeded to steal whatever valuables he could carry. Oh yeah, and he did all of this while completely naked. Eventually, the thief did put some clothes on, though this sort of begs the question as to why he was ever naked in the first place. What's even stranger is that he apparently could be seen trying on several outfits belonging to Paisit, which were kept in an area of the office that he sometimes uses as a bedroom. After taking his time, the unknown man finally left, making off with even more of Paisit's possessions. He even tried to steal a TV, but ended up leaving it on the ledge of a window, presumably because it was too large to carry. After going to police, Paisit also went to local media to get the word out about what had happened. He says that he's hoping publicity will lead to a quicker arrest, and that he's worried that the naked thief might be a danger to the community. In all, he estimates he's lost 200,000 baht, or about $6,000 US worth of property between the two burglaries. At the time of this recording, it appears that police are still searching for the unknown culprit, and that no arrests have been made. Representatives from the Spanish Civil Guard say that they are investigating a disturbing case this week after the remains of a man's body was found under gruesome circumstances early last week. The discovery was made sometime on October 7th on the popular resort island of Tenerife. The body was found in a tunnel that runs under the TF1 motorway in the municipality of Arico. The victim's remains were charred and bound, and police say that there were signs that he had suffered a violent death. It's believed that the victim was set on fire after he was already tied up. It's unclear how long the remains were there before they were found. While the man's identity is still being determined at this time, and few additional details have been released, due to where the body was recovered, there was currently widespread speculation that this could be related to an ongoing case involving the disappearances of an elderly Belgian couple that took place earlier this year. According to reports, 66-year-old Laura Trapinier and her husband, 71-year-old Mark Olbrechts, were last seen on April 22, 2024. The Belgian nationals had lived on the island for 17 years before they abruptly vanished. When concerned neighbors went to their home to check on them, they found the back door to their residence had been left open and their car was missing. Despite this, their keys and phones were still inside, and no food had been left for their pet cat. On April 27th, Laura's body was discovered by fishermen in the ocean off the coast of the town of La Listada. A plastic bag had been placed over her head, both her legs and one of her hands had been severed, and her remains showed signs of further violence. Though the body was heavily decomposed, authorities determined that Laura had likely died several days earlier. While 3 people were arrested in June in connection with the murder, no trace of Mark Olbrecht's body was ever found. However, the similarities between last week's discovery and its proximity to where Laura's remains were discovered has led to speculation that this may have finally changed. So far, nothing has been confirmed, though. As for the suspects in the case, they have also been identified as Belgian nationals. A father and son, named only as 44-year-old Michael A. and 23-year-old Lucas A., were taken into custody in Belgium, though have since been extradited back to Spain, where they are awaiting trial alongside the third alleged perpetrator. All 3 suspects have denied any wrongdoing, though admitted to knowing Mark and Laura. According to local media sources, the father and son were neighbors of the couple, but claim they had no issues with them and were in no way involved in their disappearances. Currently, it's unclear what evidence police have linking them to the case, though the investigation into this, as well as the body discovered last week, are ongoing. Authorities in Ireland released a tragic update on the case of a missing boy this week, announcing that after almost 2 months, they are upgrading the disappearance investigation to a suspected murder. The whole thing began on August 30th, 2024, when police in the Irish county of Louth received a call from concerned family members of 24-year-old Dela Durnan. The family members stated that they hadn't heard from Dela or her 8-year-old son Kieran for nearly 2 days, and that they had no idea where they had gone. Dela's mother Rhonda explained that she had last seen her daughter and grandson on August 28th, shortly before they went to bed around 11 p.m. The next morning, she said she awoke to find that Dela and Kieran were missing. The only clue as to their whereabouts was a note on the kitchen table that Dela had left. It simply stated that she needed to get away for a few days. This was all the more concerning because her 2 younger children had been left behind at the residence. For 6 weeks, police have searched for Dela and Kieran, with family members making desperate appeals for information. They have also appealed directly to Dela, asking her to contact them and to please come home. Unfortunately, it appears that progress in the case has been slow going, and police themselves had previously admitted they had no idea where the mother and son had gone. However, they have now released a deeply troubling update, suggesting that they have reason to believe that Kieran is no longer alive. In a statement this week, representatives from the investigative team said in part, quote, "Despite extensive inquiries carried out to date, investigators have been unable to either locate Kieran, identify any information on his current whereabouts, or any evidence that he is currently alive. Following inquiries to date, police now believe that Kieran is missing, presumed dead. A murder investigation has been commenced." While few specifics about these developments have been provided, according to a report from the news outlet The Irish Times, the announcement came after Dela was found alive somewhere in the UK. The report is said to be based on information from sources close to the investigation who have also made another shocking claim. They allege that Kieran may have been dead long before he was ever reported missing, and have also suggested that some people close to the boy have been less than cooperative with police. At the time of this recording, none of these claims have been verified by authorities, who are still appealing to the public for any details they might have that are relevant to the investigation. The only additional insight we have right now comes from Dela's mother, Rhonda, who had previously talked about struggles her daughter was experiencing in the lead up to the disappearance. According to her, last Christmas she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and spent most of the summer in the hospital. Rhonda told reporters that she required multiple insulin injections a day, and though it appeared that she had taken some medication with her when she disappeared, she was worried what might happen when that supply ran out. Anyone with information about Kieran Durnan's death or disappearance is encouraged to reach out to police. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.